This thing's right as rain, folks. If you're looking for a classic Harley Davidson that's going to go up in value, well, your ship just came in. What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Feast your eyes on this beauty. Extremely rare 1958 Harley Davidson Panhead. This is the first year of the swing arm frame, and she's absolutely gorgeous. This is my favorite color, the black and white. If she looks familiar, well, she's been in the museum for a couple of years. This is John Anthony from Fat City Customs. This is his bike. And I'll get into the details on it in a minute, but I'd like to let the bike do the talking, and let's give a little demonstration of how good this thing rides and runs. Just been completely gone through by Jimmy Laurinaitis and Mario here at the New England Motorcycle Museum. Jimmy did about 40 hours on this thing over the course of the last couple months, redoing the top end, redoing the front end, and tuning it, rebuilding the carburetor, the original Linker carburetor. Just an absolutely beautiful piece, showing 53,800 miles on the odometer. Let's take it for a ride. I just want to drop the mic. And what else is there to say? It's classic American beauty. It's covered in chrome, polished aluminum. Nothing like that profile of this Panhead motor. Besides the iron head Sportster, this is my favorite Harley engine. Look at it from right here. Look at the Panhead. That's why they call it a Panhead, of course. Looks like an upside down pan. It's got the nice horn on there, the white floorboards. Front suspension's just been rebuilt. The rear suspension works great. It's been complete frame up restoration. Now this bike's showing 53,000 original miles on it. According to John Anthony, when he bought it, the bike was dismantled by the previous owner, who never completely reassembled it, and John did a complete frame up restoration. As you already know, he's the previous owner of Fat City Customs. They closed their shop down. John's only selling this bike due to the medical bills that he's got piling up. I won't say much more than that, but unfortunately, that's why the bike's being sold. It's been in the museum for 2 years now. One of our premier Harley displays. I hope it can stay here, but if you want to take it with you, there's not much I can say. It's a little over 30 degrees out right now. It's pretty freaking cold out. Lots of cold air. Beautiful. The paint job is a 10. My favorite color combination, black and white. The 93 Harley Davidson Cow Glide. had the same color combo. When I saw Johnny pull this thing out of the trailer, I was like, wow, she's a stunner. Johnny had the motor rebuilt by one of his associates, and it wasn't up to our standard when we started. After the bike had been in storage for a few years, so we went right through it, drained the fuel out, and put a new battery in it, started it, got it running, and it just didn't run right. It was backfiring a little bit, and I'll get into all that with the work order, but we got 43 hours of labor into this thing to get it to run as good as it does, and it's pretty much perfect now. So let's bring it up. We'll go over the work order. I'll tell you what we've done to it. Obviously, John's done a frame-up restoration on it, and we'll go over that in detail. Listen to this baby purr. What a kick-ass piece. What an honor to ride this today. It's not every day you get to ride a 1958 Panhead. This is first year swing arm. You know, coming up the driveway where there's a big drop-off over there and a bump, this seat has about 4 inches of travel in it. The seat actually telescopes up and down. Then you got the swing arm rear suspension, and it's really quite comfortable. The buckhorn bars and the floorboards, and now, John Anthony did a full frame-off restoration on this, including replacing the front rim and spokes and tires, paint job, rebuilt all the forks with a lot of new components inside the forks. He told me the tank and tins were original tins. I can't confirm that or not. I believe the headlight is original. The handlebars appear to be the original. If they're not original, they're exact reproductions, as are the handlebar grips. Just a beautiful piece, stunning paint job. The engine had been completely rebuilt by his mechanic that he outsourced it to. We ended up doing quite a bit of work to take it to the next level, and I'll go over that in a second, but you can see it was stripped right down to the frame, sandblasted and painted the frame. The tins were sandblasted or sanded, primed, and painted to perfection. The rims have been either re-chromed or replaced. The rear spokes are new chrome spokes. You can see the swing arm was painted. The shocks are in excellent condition. The exhaust is really nice. Floorboards are new white Harley Davidson rubber floorboard inserts, as is the rubber pedal. The horn works great. Coming around this side here, you can see the engine's been rebuilt because it's absolutely perfect. There's no leaking oil anywhere. Now Jimmy just replaced all the gaskets, base gasket, head gasket, new intake. I'll go over that in a second. All electronics appear to be brand new. You can see the rear brake line appears to be brand new. The chain is in new condition, as is the brand new rear tire. Just a beautiful piece. This was on display in the museum since the day it got here. We just rolled it right in. So it was a little dusty from sitting for a couple of years, and after Jimmy rebuilt the motor, it went to the detail shop, and they spent the afternoon giving it a full detail. So let me go over the work order with you real quick while Junior walks around and shows you all the nooks and crannies of this absolutely stunning classic 58 Harley Davidson. Said when we resurrected it from its 2-year slumber in the museum, it wasn't running quite right. It was backfiring a little bit, sneezing out of the intake to cylinder head connections, which indicated there was a leak there. So we took the intake and carburetor and the whole top end off the bike, replaced the base gasket, the head gasket, and put new push rod tube seals in it. Both the cylinder heads were cocked slightly off, which was causing the air leak through the intake. So, of course, I had to remove the heads to clock that correctly and to replace the head gaskets. The rocker arms were sticking, so we serviced the rocker arm pedestals, new pan cover gaskets and felts, installed the cylinder heads correctly, installed the intake manifold with new power clamps and O-rings, and adjusted the push rods correctly. They were a little bit tight before the tear down, which caused the bike to run wrong. So it just runs beautifully now. Jimmy did an awesome job on this. Hats off to Jimmy. Like I said, new push rod tube seals. He cleaned, serviced, and refreshed the Linkert carburetor. Cleaned the gas tank out, flushed out the gas tanks, flushed out the hard fuel lines, cleaned out and refaced the fuel on-off seat. New rubber seals for the hardline nuts. Cleaned and adjusted the points, set the distributor for full advance and retard operation, adjusted the throttle cable for full motion, also decarboned all the exhaust joints because they were leaking a little bit there, so now there's no leaking from the exhaust joints, resealed and installed the exhaust system, and tuned the thing to perfection. It was still running a little bit off, so on Sunday, when we came in to film this thing, him and Mario came in, they took the car back off the bike and found out that there was some further adjustment needed to be made to the carb. There was something, I forget exactly what it was, and I don't have it written down here, but I think the needle jet was bent a tiny bit, so they straightened that out and put it back in. So there's literally 5 pages of notes here, but these are the high level on what they did to, and these will be included with the bike, but the entire top end of the motor was off. The cylinders, the heads, everything was taken right down to the pistons and rods, and everything was put back together perfectly, and it runs like it should, runs like a new bike. So that pretty much summarizes that. That was a total of 25 hours labor plus 6 hours labor on another work order. That was 31 hours. And then when he test rode it, the front end was previously rebuilt by Johnny and his crew at Fat City Customs, and the forks were seizing in the down position, which is not a good thing. A lot of the components were new, which we found when we removed it. But when John built the bike, he never rode it. So when you restore a bike, do a frame up, there are certain things, idiosyncrasies you run into. There were some adjustments we had to make on the primary side of the motor. Of course, everything I talked about on the internals of the motor. We got the motor dialed in. Now it was up to getting the suspension up to par. The forks were seizing in the down position, so we removed the entire front end off the bike. We polished and dismantled the entire fork assembly, lowers and uppers dismantled, and dampener tubes taken out. We polished the dampener rods and their mating parts. The damper rods had excessive furnace brazing protruding out on the machine surface. It had to be removed. We fixed the dampening stack, removed, straightened, and deburred, washed all the parts. The upper fork tubes are new fork tubes. They're new reproduction fork tubes, and the surface on those was a little bit on the rough side. So there was a little bit of stiction. It needs to be, and that was all taken care of. So now they're not seizing. We put 7 ounces of oil per leg in it, and it just needs to be ridden and broken in. It'll like all suspension, once it gets some hours on it, it'll loosen up a little bit. Right now everything's tight and brand new in the front end, which is the way you want it. So now picture this: the bike looked pretty much the way it did, but redoing the top end and the forks, there was 9 hours on the front end and 31 hours plus 3 hours in the detailing shop. So we've got 43 hours labor into the bike plus parts. That total came to $4,660. That's what we put into it. John already had completely dismantled the bike, every nut and bolt, and had the engine completely rebuilt, new pistons, rings, crank redone, all the gaskets and seals on the entire engine and the primary rebuilt, new clutch, new chain and sprockets, new tires. How much did John Anthony put into this? I'd be willing to bet he had close to 15 grand into the restoration before we got it. So if you think you're going to pick up a 58 pan or a newer pan up to 65 or an older one and restore it and not spend a fortune, first of all, who's going to do it for you? You're going to have to pay a shop like ours to do it. You're going to have to pay a paint shop to paint it. You're going to drop $1,500 on a paint job alone, and then all the parts and components. You're easily going to drop $15,000 to $25,000 just on a restoration. Then you got to buy the bike. What's an as-is panhead that doesn't run, that needs a restoration go for? Well, we sold one a few years ago at auction. It sold for $15,000. Nice looking original pan, but needed restoration for $15,000. What's this one worth? Well, the NADA Blue Book says it's $28,000. I'm sure that if you bought a pan and restored this, you'd have far in excess of that. So this is an excellent value. It's done. It's ready to ride. Take it down to Daytona, put it in the Rat's Hole Custom Chopper Show, bring it to the Harley Davidson display, put it in the museum. That's where it's been for the last 2 years. It really is a museum quality piece. So we'll let the market determine what the value is, but certainly it's worth all of what the buy it now price is and more. So kick-ass piece of American muscle that's going to last another 60 years. You know, it's all there, all metal, and they don't make them like they used to. That's for damn sure. Junior, is there anything you'd like to add? Well, I guess I'll summarize by saying we can ship it anywhere in the United States. Figure West Coast, somewhere around 600-700. East Coast, 500 or so. Just call us with your zip code. If you want to buy it and leave it on display in the museum, we'd be honored to keep it here. Again, this is being sold to pay John Anthony's bills. He's got some medical issues, so that's the only reason he's selling it. This is the last of the John Anthony bikes in our collection. I think the Road Glide, I think we have a buyer for his Road Glide. We sold his FXR and both of his choppers and a couple of his other bikes and his clients' bikes and his trailer. So everything's gone from his inventory that he dropped off here. This is the last piece. This took us a while. Admittedly, it took a little while longer than I thought it would. It's been tying up a lift in my shop here for 6 weeks. We've got 7 lifts downstairs. So I knew it had to be right. It wasn't perfect. It needed to be perfect. It runs, shifts, and rides excellent now. So it's ready to roll. If you have any questions, give us a call, 860-454-7024. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. God bless America, and God bless Harley Davidson. And these panheads, they're getting really rare. Not a lot left in the U.S., that's for sure. They didn't make many to begin with, and a lot of them shipped out of the country. So buy this one while you can still get them. God bless.